So now let me talk first about the platform. This is the big picture customization overview and why we think of Dynamic CRM as making a good XRM platform. And in fact, what do we mean by that? So first of all, the architecture really is designed for customization. That's kind of the key thing, and you'll see what I mean by that. But there's definitely a user experience with Dynamic CRM. If you just use an out-of-the-box or slightly configured, customized CRM with the built-in areas, the things that we'll talk about here, how it really is designed as a platform for customization, it might not occur to you, but as customizers, that's important. This notion of supported customizations is important because what that gets to is there are lots of customizations that you can do that are not supported, and it's important to know the distinction of what that means, what's supported, what's not supported, and what the trade-offs are in taking different kinds of approaches to customizations. Publishing, importing, and exporting is an important piece of this. That has to do with publishing has to do with whether users will see customizations you make, and then importing and exporting, probably clear that has to do with taking a customization that you've made and moving it to a different organization. So I'm going to want to make sure everybody understands what we mean by different organizations, and you have a pretty good feel for how we move customizations from one organization to another. Then I'll walk through what the different kinds of customizations are, and most of those, but not all of them, are the things that we're going to talk about today. And I'll give you a feel for the different kinds of things you can do with those customizations. So you will hear a lot of references to the Dynamic CRM platform. And when I use the term here, what we're really talking about is what we mean by the customization platform, and it has some important roles. It's going to play always that intermediary role between the customizer, the developer, and the database. So we'll see you never go directly up against the Dynamic CRM database. What it does is it really provides a set of APIs that whose job it is to manage the interaction with the database and gives us the building blocks for the application. So it controls access to objects through security. The platform does all the security work for us, controls the access to the database, and it gives us events that we can tap into for implementing custom business logic, workflow events, and we're going to see lots of examples of that today. Probably the most important takeaway from this little section here is that you don't go directly up against the database. Okay, there are certainly this is an example of what's of supported versus unsupported customizations. If you're a SQL Server guru type, you can certainly write SQL code that will directly manipulate the Dynamic CRM database. It's accessible, but it's not supported. And the only way that you're really supposed to do that directly is with these so-called filtered views. And these are read-only. These are for writing reports. And I won't go through that part just because it's kind of an advanced topic, and it can get a little bit sticky. It's tough to cover in one day. Plus, it doesn't make my cut as really the essentials of what we need to know for customizations. Plus, filtered views are not available for Dynamic CRM Online. I'm going to try to focus today on core platform functionality that is available in both Dynamic CRM On-Premise and Dynamic CRM Online platforms. So that was another reason I didn't want to talk about reporting services and filter views. So now let's talk about what we mean by supported customizations. Well, customization features in Dynamic CRM use XML definitions that describe how the customization is implemented, and they're portable, so I'll show you how they can be moved. And what it really means to be a supported customization is captured in that second bullet point here, where if we're doing supported customizations, we're doing customizations according to a known schema. That is the schema that Microsoft has come out with for these customizations, and that it means they will survive an upgrade. So if we're upgrading from Dynamic CRM 3 to to Dynamics CRM 4 or from 4 eventually to Dynamics CRM 5, what that means is customizations that we've made in a supported way will upgrade, and they're also supported by what? By Microsoft technical support. So if you're implementing customizations, making changes in a system, and something breaks, which can certainly happen. You know, it's not an unstable system; it's quite a stable system. But any system can have database get corrupt, indexes need reindexing. Things can happen that can break the system. And if you do supported customizations, Microsoft technical support will support you as well. So this third bullet point just kind of warns against something you want to watch out for, which is kind of tempting sometimes if a developer, especially for an on-premise implementation, a developer will see when you install Dynamics CRM, you see a bunch of files, ASPX files, that .NET developers love to see because generally speaking they can make changes to them, but those changing those directly is not supported in Dynamics CRM, and in that situation, it's generally a bad idea because a lot of those files are shared across multiple places within a Dynamics CRM organization or multiple organizations for an on-premise deployment, and breaking one of those things can break a lot of other things. So let me now take a step back, and I want to talk about something quickly that we will flesh out in great detail throughout the rest of the day, this concept of the terminology that we'll be using. And you hear this term entity a lot. And you know, there's a lot of times this might be, you might also hear, sometimes like in the applications class, I try not to say it, but sometimes I will lapse into my CRM geek jargon. You can think of this as, some people will use the term record type to refer to entity, but really what the entity is, it's a lot more comprehensive than that. It's a structure that's used to store and manage data. And you can kind of think of it as a database table, but it's a lot more because it also includes form views, code behind a form. JScript is stored in the SQL database as part of the entity. And probably the easiest way to think of this is by example. So really what entities are is they correspond to record types. So some of the so-called system entities are account, contact, case, opportunities, and things like that that we've seen. And then the key point here for present purposes is probably you can customize those, and you can create custom entities: event, project, property, you know, registration, subscription. There's all kinds of examples of those. And one of the things that I want to do in this session is give you some guidance about when you customize one of the built-in entities as opposed to when you create custom entities. And I want to give you a lot of examples of that, kind of common examples that I've seen of when you that I've seen and worked with where you need to, you know, where the best bet is to create a custom entity. So I want to provide some guidance on that.